India has called Pakistan a rogue state, exposing Islamabad for its role in supporting terrorism. In a hard-hitting statement, India's Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN called out Pakistan for sponsoring terrorism at the launch of the Victims of Terrorism Association network. Indian envoy Yojana Patel pointed to Pakistani Defence Minister Khawaja Asif's recent admission that his country has been supporting and funding terrorism for the last 3 decades. A revelation that she said surprised no one.
The whole world has heard Pakistan's Defence Minister Khawaja Asif admitting and confessing Pakistan's history of supporting, training and funding terrorist organizations in a recent television interview. This open confession surprises no one and exposes Pakistan as a rogue state fueling global terrorism and destabilizing the region. The world can no longer turn a blind eye.
The envoy, in India's right of reply, demanded that perpetrators and financiers of pahalgam terror attack must be held accountable.
As the UN Security Council in its statement has said, perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of reprehensible acts of terrorism must be held accountable and brought to justice. Acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable, regardless of their motivation, wherever, whenever, and by whomever committed. We reiterate that terrorism in all its forms must be condemned unequivocally.
This as Pakistan's Defence Minister Khawaja Asif said on Monday that a military incursion by India was imminent in the aftermath of an attack on tourists in Kashmir last week.
There is a likelihood that India will attempt an incursion in Pakistan and will engage Pakistan militarily. That is a possibility, a very clear and stark possibility. Cannot be ruled out. We have reinforced our forces because it is something which is imminent now.
However, just a day after making this statement, he clarified that his remarks suggesting an imminent Indian military incursion were misinterpreted. While Pakistani ministers continue to engage in warmongering, former Pakistan Prime Minister and PMLN founder Nawaz Sharif advised Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to choose diplomacy over conflict with India. According to reports, the two brothers met in Lahore, where Nawaz Sharif insisted that he is against taking an aggressive position against India and suggested to use diplomatic channels to ease tensions between the two countries. However, Pakistan continues to provoke India with overnight firing across the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir night after night. The Pakistani troops violated ceasefire with cross-border firing near Kupwara and Baramulla districts, as well as in Akhnur sector. The Indian Army said it responded in a measured and effective manner to the provocations by the Pakistan Army. According to reports, India is considering the closure of its airspace to Pakistani airlines, which will force Islamabad to reroute its planes over China or Sri Lanka to reach Southeast Asian destinations. India is also contemplating a ban on Pakistani ships from calling at Indian ports. Pakistan had shut its airspace to Indian airlines following New Delhi's diplomatic measures against Islamabad after the April 22nd terror attack.
Ve hürriyetlerinden, demokrasiden bahseden
Meanwhile, Turkey has rejected sending arms and ammunition to Pakistan. Turkish Defence Ministry said that a cargo plane from Turkey had landed in Pakistan for refueling, following which the plane continued on its route. And this is after the arrival of a Turkish C-130E military transport aircraft in Pakistan, which triggered speculations that Ankara had in fact made an urgent arms delivery to the country. Turkey has backtracked from that. And for more on this, we are now being joined live by WION's Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal. Siddhant, India has clearly called Pakistan a rogue state. It is on a global stage at this point. It's out in the open and Pakistan is not backing off. But there has been a certain, a difference that they've made in terms of, they've distanced themselves from the comments that Khawaja Asif at least made in terms of what he was suggesting that India is going to carry out some kind of incursion into Pakistan. At this point, what more do we know on the diplomatic and the ground front?
Well, it is a very dynamic situation. Many things are being mulled, including consideration of Pakistani airlines, aircraft carriers over India. And a short while ago, in fact, just around 10 to 15 minutes ago, the Indian External Affairs Minister tweeted that he had held talks with the Greek Foreign Minister. Now, what is interesting is that Greece is non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, and this country is going to be the chair of the UNSC next month, in the month of May, which it looks like could be an active month. Also remember that Pakistan is also a non-permanent member of the UNSC for a 2-month term, and we saw that how at the and the Chinese coming together, we saw how the statement condemning the pahalgam terror attack was watered down. Now, essentially, there will be a lot of diplomatic maneuvers. India's friends, of course, will be supporting India. In fact, the draft for condemning the terror attack that happened in Jammu and Kashmir was proposed by United States, though it did not mention the terror group that claimed responsibility. So, a lot of action expected at the UNSC. Pakistan, of course, with the help of China, is expected to bring Kashmir at the UNSC as well. Whether it's informal conversation or formal conversation is the big question. But whether it's the diplomatic front or whether it is other dimensions, there are several things which are underway. We know that the Indian cabinet is expected to meet tomorrow. Perhaps the Cabinet Committee on Security could also meet, and thereafter more decisions can be announced by India's side.
Thanks, Siddhant, for getting us the latest. We will be tracking those developments closely.